Hey, Rich Klein. How are you?
Hey, John Keating. Good to see you on your return to Hobby Hotline. You and Tom
Yeah,
Brady probably share the shortest retirements of 2022.
I almost got beaten by Boris Johnson, but thankfully he decided not to jump back into the ring. We are on episode 197, Rich. That's, I believe, if you carry the one, that's three less than 200. So a milestone's coming up here. It's Tuesday night. Rich and I are here by ourselves talking about the wonderful hobby. Hopefully, there are people out there watching. I see possibly there's some people out there. Rich will tell you to like the video. That's what Rich does.
I do that for our good friend Bo Spencer Thompson, 1 million Cubs. It's my favorite way to say hi in the morning.
I think
Other
it's
than
caught on.
saying other than saying good morning, because I'm honoring a radio guy because Bo in his previous life was a radio guy. So that was in LA, since you're in LA right now.
I'm in LA.
One of the most famous LA disc jockeys morning, he wouldn't say good morning, he'd say good Morgan. And I'll let you research it from there.
Well, that's half English and that's half German. So why? That's what I want to know. Every
It was
morning I
his,
would.
I'll give you a hint. It was his name.
Oh, Morgan. There you go. Because
But
the
that'll make it a little bit easier.
my German friends simply say Morgan every morning when I ran into them on a job site. So anyway, that's your English lesson for the day. Rich, you are hot off a wonderful weekend at the Dallas Card Show. Can you give us a quick recap on what went
It
down there?
was one of the more interesting Dallas card shows because it really didn't follow the typical pattern. When I sold out my inventory in January, I wasn't going to do the show anymore. I was going to walk around, have a good time. You know, the office across the street makes it easy just to bop to the show, bop back to the office, do my work.
Free parking.
Our trade show manager very nicely informed me we'd really like if you set up for ComC, and we have a wonderful couple. They were on Dr. Beckett's podcast this morning, Stefan and Angela Loeffler.
Right.
And they do most of the heavy lifting, and I just sit there and look not so pretty.
Right.
But I'm the local guy with all the connections. And we've been taking a ComC table at all the shows since January this year. It's an important part of our trade show business. It's really economical, which helps too. We pay for the table, we pay in full. We're in the Starlight Room, which is carpeted near the garage. It's a wonderful location. It's actually better for us than the main room or the concourse, which people just can't believe. No, we love it in here.
Right.
It has the plug. We got not as many. This was the fewest cards we've ever gotten at the Dallas Card Show, which I figured someday would happen. But partially because of the show special, we got many more elite and select, the higher level cards with a higher dollar volume than we ever had before. But it was also
that immediately. You know that pre-processing. You know all that.
I know that pre-processing because of how they have to submit the cards at the table.
Okay.
And Stefan is a whiz with Excel, and he has data and more data. And so,
well, I'm going to ask you some follow-up questions here. We're going to say hi to some of our friends. There's some
let's say hi to our friends, but I want to say one thing
people
first.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
That the weekend was also funky because we had 3 thunderstorms run through on Friday, and that really changed things for the weekend, including 2 necessitating my phone and email, exploding.
Got one of those.
So
today.
Friday was really a weird day. Saturday was busier for us than ever before at the shows. And Sunday, without the Cowboys playing, was surprisingly quiescent. Then let's get to your follow-up questions. And by the way, please post, in case anybody wants to call in, let's get the link to call in.
Yeah, I had that up there. We'll do that again for the people. Call in. It would be fun to hear from you guys because we have some questions we're going to ask later on. So the link is there in the chat. Go get it. We saw Zach Porter with a Weisenheimer comment there. Good evening to you guys. THA card story. Hello. The Pokemon and Funko Kid is here. He says, "Sup." Zach and Porter are back again. There's a gentleman named 1 Million Cubs Project who said his ears were burning. Ricardo Barda, he's here. He, she, they. Royals 417. And there's a gentleman named Kuderlev who is on Route 66. And that's that. That's the roll call, as they say. So this show, you said you had the fewest submissions from ComC. I'm curious.
The fewest card submission, the
Right.
fewest total card submissions, not the fewest submissions. It was
Oh,
actually
right.
more.
The fewest card submissions, right? So you think you had more submissions because I know you've had some
Yes, there was
whoppers come in there,
definitely
right?
more submissions, but because they were the slightly higher price levels, it wasn't as many, basic or standard cards. It was more elite and select, which was a fascinating thing. That's also partially because we are running at the shows till the end of the year, a special with 30% off select and 40% off elite.
Mm-hmm.
And, even though it's only 30 cents on select, it's amazing what a difference a discount makes.
How often does your crew, meaning your colleagues throughout the country, how often do they do card shows like this?
We're going to do even more next year. For Angela and Stefan, they're probably going to do one a month. The 6 in the Dallas card shows, the one Houston,
Mm-hmm.
and then the National, I presume, and then probably 3 or I'm going to say 4 others, but it could be 3 others.
It's good to put a human touch on it because ComC obviously is a tech company in the industry, so it's neat to see real live people interacting. Instead of just shipping the stuff off in a box and stuff like that. So,
well, we have a joke. I'm the least techie person to ever work for a tech company.
Gotcha. I believe you. I believe that because when Rich and I logged on today, Rich had his water bottle in front of his camera, took a drink, said, "Oops, it's in the way," and then put it right back down in front of the camera again. So he's definitely
Yes, you almost got the water bottle. Almost became the star of the show.
Right. Well, I'm here. It can't be any worse than me, that's for sure. The Dallas Card Show, business wise, I know Mike Moynihan did a little riff on that earlier, but did you see more volume, less volume? I mean, there's no Cowboys game on Sunday, and Sunday could be kind of dead on some shows. So what do you think?
I was shocked without a Cowboys game on Sunday how quiescent, which means quiet, the show was.
Interesting.
I would have thought the show, especially because we lost Friday for all practical purposes, right. I would have thought Sunday wouldn't have been a zoo, but I would have thought Sunday would have been busy. But
Does he do pre-sale? Does he do pre-sales, Kyle, or is it all walk up?
When you say pre-sales, you can buy your tickets in advance. A lot of people get the VIP passes or the all-access VIP passes.
Okay.
And give Kyle credit. I'm going to say it. I'm going to pat myself on the back so hard. He actually listens to me at times. I sent him the email showing how I broke down how everybody can enter the show. Or I sent his team that. And the webpage now has, this is when the general public can come in. This is when the VIPs can come in. And this is when the all-access VIPs come in.
All right.
So now you don't have these questions about trying to figure out when you can come into the show.
Speaking of questions, we have a burning question here. And this is something I've never spoken to you about in private or in public. What are your favorite Hank Aaron cards?
Well, mine is the rookie. I've owned one of them. It's really a very pretty card. And I also like the 74 card number 1.
Yep, home run.
I was opening packs. I was still opening packs in 74. I actually got caught a little bit in the Washington. I never pulled the Washington National League from the packs, but I liked opening packs.
Right.
I did not get, and I was opening packs beginning. I think the cards came out in March. So I opened some packs in March. I did not get my card. And remember, the cards are being issued all 660 cards at once in 74.
First time. And a factory set as well.
Right. J.C. Penney did factory sets that year. 73, there were some parts of the country, Ohio and Florida, notably, that had all 5 packs released at the same time as a test. Went so well, they went for it the next year. I did not get my 74 all-time Homer King until the day after Hank Aaron hit number 715.
That was a ballsy move, I always say, right? Especially
Yeah,
with Roberto Clemente passing the
something
year
can happen.
before.
It's a
Yeah,
ballsy move.
yeah,
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 you never know. I mean, look, they issue a 73 card to Roberto Clemente, and he perishes in a plane
exactly.
crash. I mean,
Yep,
could you imagine if something like that, and with all the death threats Aaron had,
exactly. Yep,
could
yep.
you imagine if that had happened and you have this card all time Homer King?
It's amazing.
And
Yeah,
thankfully nothing did happen. But could you imagine how you have to redo that card in a hurry?
yep, for sure. Now, what did you think of the 4 by cards? Because I think that I find them fascinating, and that was like one of my first looks back in the history of cards. Like, what did you think of
I
those?
I thought they were great. Life magazine in 1972, when Willie Mays was traded to the Mets, had a picture. Topps provided them photos. Of course, Sideberger and Willie Mays were very notably very good friends,
Hmm.
and they pictured all of Willie Mays' cards, all his Topps cards. That is, they didn't have. I don't think they printed the Bowman cards, but there's a Great Life magazine. I want to say when he gets traded to the Mets. So I want to say around the May 30th, 1972 issue. This is I am spitballing the date. This You are not to hold me to this date. Somebody can Google it and actually come up with the real date. Uh, but it was really cool. And that was the first time where I think Topps really started getting to their history.
Right.
And 74 with Aaron, they continued with that. And I think 75, the MVP set.
Yep. Yep.
And so I think they were starting to get into the concept of, hey, we have a 25-year history. Let's do something with it. Now they so honor their history with some of their products. It's wonderful for them.
Right.
But those were the first steps. So I think there's something cool about the fact that even though they were still treating the hobby as a kid's hobby in the 70s, they were starting to understand adults were collecting.
Yeah, and what's cool is it's symmetrical, right? It's the 5 by 4. If it had been a weird number, how would they have handled that? But it's 5 cards, four cards each, old cards each on those cards. So it kind of worked out for them. So tell me about this. Our friend Logan Ward. What I've never heard of the Lake to Lake Braves, Aaron.
That's a 1960 issue, and if my memory is correct, most of those cards have like little holes in them. So finding cards without holes in them really makes a big difference. They
Are
have
these
like little
holes made by little hands and thumbtacks, or are these
no holes
manufactured
made
holes?
by holes made for the cards themselves, not
Oh,
by little hands, but actually
okay.
manufactured holes.
Interesting. Hmm. I have
That's
never
if my
seen or
memory
heard.
is correct.
Well, maybe Logan can tell us. And Logan also points out the Johnson cookies, which is
There's a 54 Johnston Cookies
uh,
Hank Aaron card. There's a
yep,
real rookie card of Hank
yep.
Aaron in that set.
And they're a little odd shaped, right? I think they're
Yeah,
taller than
and
they
okay,
taller than they are.
Mark
Of
Hoyle has the answer for the lake to lake why there's the hole in it.
course he does. Stapled to a milk carton.
So a lot of them come damaged. It's a really cool set.
Yeah. Well, that's the kind of thing that who cares what a grade's at? It's just a wonderful oddball card, right? So,
Oh,
uh, so
I love oddball cards. I dealt in oddball cards.
I do too. I just bought an oddball set today. I bought the 76 Fleer Pioneers.
Oh, cool. That's a reasonably
Yeah.
difficult set. That's a cool set.
I had two
All
cards
those
and I just bought the
70s
whole set.
sets,
Yeah.
all those 70s Fleer sets, the Laughlin sets, the Fleer
Yep.
Pioneer set, the Negro League sets, those are all not
Right.
rare but not easy. And they're just cool though. They're nice looks into baseball history.
Right. I agree. It's neat. It's like what cards were to us. We learned stuff from cards when we read them and stuff like that, and it's the same kind of
I
vibe.
always tell people when I'm at ComC, every once in a while, I do a mental walkabout when I'm doing IDing older cards, and I read the backs of the cards.
Yep.
I still
Absolutely.
read the backs of the cards. I get to see them on screen. Oh, that's interesting.
See, we had a discussion earlier this week with our friend Zach and/or Porter about doubling up cards in a 9 pay in a 9 hole pocket there, and I can never do that because I want to see the backs of the cards, both for the numbers, but also for any information I want to look at and stuff like that. So yeah, that's a discussion that's been going on in the hobby for a very long time. 18 cards or 9 cards. I'm a 9 card guy for
I
the
always
standard.
prefer 9 cards for the same reason where each card gets its own way
Right.
to shine.
Right. So I have a few. Let's see if we can get through any more comments here. I think we got it all. Our friend THA Card Story saw the LTL on Rick's channel. It's on their list. So good luck with that. I mean, I don't know if you're going to find that at a normal show, or I'm sure you'll find it at the National, but I'm not sure you'd even find that at the Dallas Card Show. Would you? Is it that common?
Probably not Dallas Card Show. Uh, National, maybe some of the major Midwest shows because you're not that far from Wisconsin. And there's a lot of regionals that come out of Wisconsin. So I would say the Midwest or the National.
Was that a regional issue?
Yes, it's a Milwaukee area issue
Milwaukee, right, right. Here I am thinking
or a
Atlanta for some
Braves
reason.
area
Yeah,
issue.
yeah,
There's a lot of Braves area issues. There's that lake to lake. In the 50s, they have all those spick and span cards. They have
right,
Johnston cookies.
right.
The Braves became so popular in Milwaukee, and they did a lot of regional cards. So it's really cool.
I found out about the Milwaukee Braves by watching Happy Days. I hadn't realized that they had been in Milwaukee, but Happy Days taught me that back in the mid '70s. Obviously, they were huge Braves fans back then. And I have Johnny Antonelli Johnston Cookies card. I got my first Johnston Cookies card this in Vegas a few months back at the whatever they call that, the Illuminati Summit card show. So yeah, that's it. A little bit about me. Um, they had Packers cards too. We're hearing from
Same
Logan
year,
Ward.
1960.
60. So all the good ones would have been there. Hornig, I guess, and Star, and all those guys, right?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, and it's a really cool set.
Right.
Lots of Hall of Famers and lots of famous people because the 60s Packers ended up with lots of famous players.
And one more follow up from the Pokemon and Funko Kid. Rich, you probably know the answer to my favorite 70s card, but
Well, I know your favorite 70s card was a guy who I believe played in 92 games in 1974 and never showed up played a bat. He had like 29 steals and was caught like 13 times and also once was picked off noticeably in the 74 World Series by Dr. Mike Marshall with a PhD.
Got a ring. He got a ring though.
He got a ring, a PhD in kinesiology. Yep. And in a way what he did the A's could kind of get away with in 74. But in a way, some of these teams use a player like him in the World Series nowadays. There are guys that are brought up. They don't play a lot in the regular season, but they're stashed in AAA. And they're brought up into the postseason roster to be that guy to steal a base or to be on base as a speedster when needed. As a matter of fact, Dodgers manager Dave Roberts famously stole a base in ninth inning of Game 4 of the 2004 AL Championship Series that helped the Red Sox get on their way to sweep the New York Yankees 4-3 as they were losing 3-0, and they won the final 4.
Yeah. So to answer the question, we had a guy that never wore a glove in anger or swung a bat in anger on a baseball field, Herb Washington. So.
And he's got some 1975 cards. He's got the Topps, the OPC, which is Canadian Topps, so to speak. Right. And he's got a Topps Mini. And it's really cool that he's got cards. And it actually says designated runner on it.
Yeah, that was the most impressive thing. I was in awe of that card when I was a kid because it's like, what is a designated anything, let alone a designated runner? And yeah, it's a cool card. And thanks to you, Rich, I had not even realized it was an OPG, so now I have the complete player run. It took me probably 40 years to complete the run, but got the run, finished it this summer. There's probably only 2 owners that would have pulled that off, Charlie Finley and Bill Veeck, I would imagine, right?
Right. They were the only ones that would pull it off for the regular season, but as we noted, teams are now doing that for I think there's Terrence Gore has like 3 World Series rings because he keeps coming up to play for teams in October.
Amazing, right? Good luck charm.
Terrence Gore also became a pitcher this year, I believe, or last year, and in the minor leagues. And apparently, he can throw like 94, 95.
Right. Right. I'm going to ask you a question that I asked the venerable Dr. Jim a few weeks back. Um, and he kind of, and don't do the same thing, Rich, please. He kind of skirted the spirit of the question because a little too diplomatic. I'm asking you to put your angry face on here and have a stern talk with the hobby. Tell us what you want to call the hobby to the table and give it a piece of your mind.
Well, you and him had an interesting talk about, we'll call it doctoring cards.
Right.
If that's what you're talking about.
I'm just saying anything. Tell me
Okay,
about like
well, the only
the
thing,
hobby's been naughty. Sit down. We're gonna have a talk.
there's human beings still run the hobby. And we've learned this year with breaking that even the best breakers run into situations that they never thought possible before. So one of the things, if I was going to talk to the hobby, I would just start working and understanding that it's a set of rules about how do you break cards. Because if I'm buying Tops Up, Bo's talking about Bo, there's a player Bo's chasing in Tops Update. And he's doing player buys. But if I'm buying a team lot in Update, I don't want just the quote inserts and hits cards. I want all the base cards. Not all breakers do it. And then we won't even talk about some of the issues that have come up with expensive cards. One of my favorite stories of the year, and I don't blame anybody for this one, was when the card says Wander Franco on it, but it's obviously the team mascot. It's like the super short print. Or it's the super short print, but it's in the Wander Franco number. I don't think his name's on the card, actually. I think it actually says the mascot's name. And but it's considered like Wander Franco's card. It's an expensive card, but if you bought Wander Franco, did you buy that card or not?
Right.
It's the right of the break.
Right.
And that's a very gray area. So we're discovering that breaking, and I'm a fan of breaking done right. I happen to be wearing, and you can't see it, one of the best breakers out, Mojo Breaks.
Sure.
I just happen to be wearing their card tonight.
Okay.
They were actually one of the original hosts of Hobby Hotline too.
Speaking of breaking, real quick, this is the best breaking and the only breaking I'm into. The breaking of an electric guitar on stage. Sorry.
Oh, Pete Townsend?
No, that's Paul Summonin from The Clash.
Okay, well, Pete Townsend and The Who were pretty good about breaking instruments on stage too.
Exactly. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. So I would I'm not going to be stern about the hobby, but I'm using that as an example.
Sure.
Just keep thinking and just try to do, the honorable thing when the time comes. None of us are perfect. None of us will ever be perfect.
And
have a good deal, but don't have a great deal. I tell the story. He's one of my favorite vendors. I buy from him every show. At the last Arlington show, I bought because I'll buy any 62 postcard for a football post for 50 cents. And I think it's going to be a $4 or $5 card. I buy it from him for 50 cents. I'll end up getting $2 for it. He's happy. I'm happy.
Mm-hmm.
The world goes on.
Right.
Card was $80 in Beckett. I called him and said, I got to give you more money at the next show. He goes, why? Well, Duke, I just priced this card out on the Beckett database. It's an $80 card. I can't give you 50 cents for it. Now, if it was $8, I can give him 50 cents for it. Sure. I'm allowed to win. I'm not allowed to basically, knife the back, put the knife in the back.
Right.
Especially to my friends who, when I came back to do the synagogue show, he texted me the first day the announcement came out, give me 2 tables. I can't do that to people like that.
Sure, but if he's not an acquaintance of yours, there are plenty of people out there that have no qualms at a table at a big show, have no qualms of selling you a trimmed card without telling you it's trimmed, or a marked 1971 Sharpied up Don Baylor, stuff like that. So the hobby, I think what you're saying about breaking is it's kind of still, even though it's been around a while, it's still trying to find its way. And so long as it makes the mistakes once, right, and learns from it, we're okay. But obviously we have some repeat or are perceived repeat offenders. So
Right.
that's where the problems lie, I believe.
Right. I had a friend of mine on Saturday, went over to a vendor's table. We're hanging out. I'm hanging out with my friend Raymond, who does overnight security. And I make sure I'm at the table. I make sure I'm in the room and with the ComC table at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning in case somebody drops off before the show begins. So I make sure I'm there early Saturday morning. And one of our mutual friends, who shares a name with the Chief Justice of the United States, bought what he thought was 11 1970s. They're not, they're not tens. They're like sevens, eights. I think there may be a nine in there. 1970s basketball Hall of Famers. Nice cards.
Mhm.
I love 70s basketball. I grew up watching on Channel 9 in New York the Knicks and the Nets and Dr. J and
Yep.
Willis Reed and Walt Frazier and Hawthorne Nathaniel Wingo, the greatest name ever for a basketball player.
Right.
And the greatest given name. I mean, World Be Free and Meta,
Right.
and
Right.
Mahdi Abdul Rahman and Zaid Abdul Aziz and all the
Yeah.
guys that
Sure.
changed the Muslim names are great 70s names. But Nathaniel Hawthorne Wingo, actually Hawthorne Nathaniel Wingo, is a great given name. And we're looking. And I go, what are you doing with that Luther Rackley card? Now, if you know Luther Rackley was a 7-foot stiff. And he looked at the card and said, I shouldn't have this card. I counted 11. The dealer counted 11. The card stuck to another card that he was buying. He returned the card. He didn't want no part of that card. He returned it. And the dealer just looked at him like, I miscounted too. That is, as Cooter pointed out, that's an honest mistake. They're both taking the high road. They both counted the cards. They both missed. If you make a mistake out of what old Hall of Fame manager Marsh Joe McCarthy would say, out of omission, that you just missed it, that's one thing. But if you make the mistake out of commission, then that's a problem.
Right.
He would never, in baseball, he would use make the mistake out of commission is not bad. You make the mistake out of omission is bad. In this, it's the other way around. The mistake made out of omission, that's not good. The mistake made out of commission, that's a problem.
So what do you think we have more of in the breaking sector of our hobby?
I think we have more good people than bad, but I think there's always situations that are still coming up.
Yeah, I mean, the Wanderer mascot thing is interesting because that's I don't know what the
That was
motives
a
were,
player break.
but
If it was a team break, then
different
that's a
story.
no-brainer. Right. He gets the card.
Right.
It was a player break.
Hmm.
And that's what
but that's a
so
real-time decision that needs to be made there, right?
Right. And the guy ended up with the card.
Right.
Logan, to answer your question, it wasn't a fender bender. It was a little bit different with my car probably going to be considered totaled. I am sitting at a traffic light yesterday. I'm even behind the crosswalk. Talk about being totally illegal. And what I think happened, because I'm watching it and it happened too fast for me to really note, other than I saw that and then I saw, oh bleep, a pickup truck and a lawn work truck decided to have a business meeting in the middle of the intersection. And the work truck slid into the front end at a pretty high rate of speed into my car. High enough where the airbag went off.
Man. And your dog. Dude.
What?
Dog was.
And my dog was in the front seat, by the way.
Okay. But
he was on his way to the vet to have a tooth extracted that ended up 7 teeth extracted. He actually was the calmest person during the whole experience. He sat on the front seat. We later called the vet like 3 o'clock. And the vet said, oh, he was fine. All he wanted to do was lick off, because he's a little darling mini chihuahua. I'll post another photo of him if anybody really wants to see him. And he just loves people. Mini chihuahuas either are frankly the nastiest type of people in the world, or they're the sweetest. He runs to the sweetest, except he chases cats.
It's like Philadelphians do.
And
Same thing.
he like today he's 90% back to normal. But yeah, normally he's on my lap. I'm glad he actually wasn't on my lap when the airbag went off. I'm glad he was just sitting in the seat, just like, okay.
Well,
He didn't
glad to hear
even
you're
move.
both on the mend. I know your dog's missing
Yeah,
a
I
mouth
see the
mouthful
Cairo
of teeth.
tomorrow. I see the
But
Cairo tomorrow
yeah,
morning.
yeah,
The funny thing is that I see the Cairo anyway for normal maintenance, but
gotcha.
I'm scheduled to see him tomorrow morning. I had to fill out a new patient form, even though I've only been seeing him for 20 years.
Well, let's talk about some more positive things if we
Yeah,
can.
let's talk about
Okay.
positive things. But thank you for asking, Logan.
Yeah. Thank you, Logan. Appreciate it. Hall of Fame, baseball Hall of Fame ballot. Um, is
Same
this the
comment I made about the ballot last time,
right?
the last year's ballot. I'd be perfectly comfortable if none of them get in, and I'd be perfectly comfortable if every one of them got in. There's really nobody you can look at that and say they shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. If you're just looking on a pure game level, and that includes Bonds and Clemens, I have my own opinions about their place in baseball history. But Barry Bonds was a Hall of Famer before any of the steroids hit. He was going to be in the Hall of
Right.
Fame.
Right.
Roger Clemens was borderline, but probably would have had the decline phase good enough to put him in the Hall of Fame.
He was a stud. Come on, his
Yeah,
first 10
I
years,
mean,
he
when
was a
he was
stud.
young,
Yeah.
yes. So they're always, and Rafael Palmeiro, whatever it is, has those 500 homers and 3,000 hits.
Mm-hmm.
Kurt Schilling, you may or may not like him as a human being, but it's the Hall of Fame, not the Hall of Decent Human Beings.
I don't think he. I think there's plenty of pictures in his neighborhood that aren't in.
Right. But in
That
his case, the bloody sock game,
uh,
there are positives. The work he did
yeah,
for Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS.
sure, sure.
There are a lot of positives. There's also, as I said, he's open. I would be convinced he'd be in the Hall of Fame today if he had kept his mouth shut for a couple of years.
Yeah, well, that's not Kurt Schilling because Kurt Schilling is probably out of, Barry Bonds is a surly dude, but from what I gather, and as a Phillies fan in the early 90s when he was pitching there, none of his teammates liked the guy. So this isn't only a post career opinion I have. I think throughout his career, he was always a jerk, and then you're right. He opens, and it's okay to be opinionated. I mean, Goose Gossage is opinionated. Everybody's opinionated about their stuff, but he was one of those guys that supposedly was never a great teammate. And I think that there's a lot of people, like I said, in his neighborhood that have pseudo similar stats, but they don't have the bloody sock. And if the bloody sock gets you in, boy,
And he is co-MVP of the 2001 Diamonds MVP, in the World Series
Diamondbacks.
with Randy Johnson. And
Mm-hmm.
he basically willed as a pitcher the 93 Phillies to the World Series. I mean, and I know you as a Philly
Mm-hmm.
fan, I know what you're saying, but on the other
Yeah,
hand, as a Philly fan, you probably enjoyed the 93 season.
I did until the very, very, very end, the last swing. But yeah, now hobby wise, who do you think has the most clout there? I mean, they seem like I could tell you who doesn't, right? I mean, McGriff is pretty down there, and probably Murphy and Bell, but Mattingly is a big deal in the hobby. Clemens, Bonds, all that stuff. Who do you think is the biggest big wheel out of those eight?
I don't know who the biggest wheel is, but I will tell you that if Albert Bell makes the Hall of Fame, his prices have the most room
He's got the most to gain.
to get the most to gain.
Yeah.
And he's probably the weakest of the 8 candidates.
Albert Bell, I mean, listen, he is, you can say that, Rich, and I
By the way,
respect your,
389 homers in 12 seasons is nothing to sneeze at.
yeah, I mean, if you did he's comparable to Mattingly as far as his service time or
Yeah.
games, plate appearances, all that stuff, and he I would take Bell's career over Mattingly's career. I know Mattingly played was a better fielder, but Albert Bell did not disappoint at the plate. That's for sure.
Now, Albert Bell had 50 doubles and 50 homers, if I remember, in the truncated 1995 season where they missed like 15, 18 games.
52 doubles, 50 home runs, 126 RBIs.
Yeah, and the reason he doesn't get the MVP is they're looking for any reason not to give it to him, and Mo Vaughn has a really good year that year.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Heck of a year. Yeah, Albert Bell was one of those guys that never, like Bonds, never made love to the press, that's for sure.
Right. And here's the difference. Albert Bell actually many times signed very willingly for players. Bonds only signed if the camera was on him. So in that case, Bell's actually ahead of Bonds. Bell is actually a better signer and better fan relation than Bonds ever was.
I just noticed that there's a lot of people critical of the steroid era players, and there's still a lot of hobby love for people like Clemens and McGuire and stuff like that. So I think that,
well, it's interesting. Sosa's not on the list of candidates, and Sosa could just as easy. He's got 600 homers. He could easily be on the list instead of Bell, but maybe you want to put not all of them on at the same time.
Right. And it's interesting because he was probably the most gregarious out of anybody on this list, right?
Yeah, and he was also the best rounded player probably of, well, actually Bonds was a better rounded player. I shouldn't say that. But
that's for
he was a very well-rounded player.
Yeah. So you voting for 4, give me 4.
Let me look them up. So
Bonds, I can let you know. Bonds, Clemens, Schilling, Palmeiro, Bell, Mattingly, Murphy, and probably the least spoken about greatest player, Fred McGriff.
Well, actually, McGriff, if I'm voting in the way that I think the players are going to vote, I vote for Murphy, McGriff, and Mattingly.
That's easy.
They're the players without any real.
They don't have baggage, right?
They don't have a lot of baggage.
Yeah.
McGriff would have had 500 homers if it wasn't for the baseball strike of 94-95.
Don't start this argument because you know what I'll say. I'll run Teddy Ballgame out there.
He would have had a lot more without serving twice in World War II in Korea. Yes.
Yeah.
He's one of the few people. He, Jerry Coleman, and I think there's one more player that served in both World War II and Korea.
Yeah.
And
so you're only voting for 3 then? Okay.
I'm only voting for. I believe that's all they're allowed to vote for is 3.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So I think they're only allowed to vote for 3, so I gave you 3.
Who do you think deserves to be on? Maybe not that. That's a great 8 right there. But who do you think deserves to maybe be in the next 2 in line there, number 9 and 10?
Lou Whitaker, who should have probably gotten in. Lou Whitaker's like
before Trammell
and Trammell. He should have gotten in with Trammell.
Yeah.
He definitely, and he had the highest, whatever Jaffe's war situation was.
Jaws.
And I think there's a whole host of retired pitchers, as you've mentioned, that we talked about Clemens. How about the guy who they named the Tommy John surgery after, who only won like 285 major league games?
Right.
I mean, they got Jim Kitty Cott in the Hall of Fame finally. What's wrong with Tommy John?
I guess that's next year, right? That'll be that era.
I mean, he's got a surgery named after him, for crying out loud. Again, it's the Hall of Fame.
Right.
And Tommy John was a pretty good pitcher.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't win 280 some odd games in the major leagues out of sheer luck.
Right. It's not like he was dealing heat like Nolan Ryan for 20 years. He was a pretty savvy guy. Well, you got one more slot there. Choose it wisely. There might be some Yinzers watching, so be careful what you say. Meanwhile, Mark Hoyle speaking in tongues, so I'll put that up there. Warren Jabali.
Oh, that's Warren Armstrong. He was really cool. That's a great name.
There were some great names in the 70s, right? Who was Bobby? What was Ahmad Rashad's name?
Bobby Moore.
Bobby Moore, right? And Jamal Wilkes.
Right, that was Keith Wilkes originally.
Some would change their whole names. Yeah.
Okay, so looking at honestly, I mean, if I'm going to have to put a 4th name in, it's going to be Barry Lamar Bonds.
Yeah,
just because he's a Hall of Famer before the whole thing hits.
Well, yeah.
He was basically 400 homers and steals before everything hit, or so close he would have been 4-4. He had been the first major leaguer by far to do that. So if I have to vote for 4 from the current ballot, Bonds is the 4th.
Okay. So you've just cracked the seal, Rich. You've named your first steroid accused player.
And
So
I'm not
I think
happy about
I think
that.
that's progress for you. I think you're going to sleep better tonight because I think you've carried a
I'll
load
sleep
for a
fine
very long
tonight.
time.
I'll sleep fine tonight. I mean, if it's seriously, with all joking aside, if you don't, I bet you there are some players that may have tried it once or twice, never got named for it, and realized they didn't want to do it either.
Right.
So you don't know, who did or didn't do it of the retired guys already in the Hall of Fame.
Well, I think Tommy John surgery is performance enhancing as well. So
Yeah.
what's in there? The Sandman, your closer from New York. So anyway, and Lou Whitaker, you say Lou Whitaker is in the mix. It'll be interesting
Lou
next year. I
Whitaker's
think
in the
the
mix.
more
He probably should have gotten in, but I didn't have a problem when they put Ted Simmons in instead, or
yeah, I was pushing for Dave Parker. I was hoping you'd name Dave Parker.
Dave Parker. I wouldn't have a problem in Dave Parker. Yeah. Dave Parker's perfectly fine. That's what I'm saying. There was everybody on the ballot was acceptable going in, or I would have been fine if none of them went in. So
right. Well, we'll see what happens. It'll be an interesting thing to talk about. And part of the fun of you lean towards baseball, I lean towards baseball. A lot of us lean towards baseball. So the off season is filled with talk like this.
What's interesting is baseball is really the only sport where there's a Hall of Fame discussion.
Yeah, I thought about that today. When was the last controversy? There's people in football you can talk about, but because it's more of a slow burn process, I think. But you don't hear about it in basketball.
Well, the other thing with the other sports is it's not such a public process to get them in. Really, the only other sport, if you want to consider it a sport that has as public of a way to get the people into the Hall of Fame, is boxing.
Okay.
Boxing released. There are writers that release their boxing ballots, and you get a list and you vote and you can release your ballots. Really, boxing is the only other sport. The Hall of Fame, they have a bunch of writers, like one from each city, go together and actually they meet in a room, and or I guess 2020 they met on Zoom to get it done, but they'll meet in a room, or they'll meet in a couple rooms, and they will have face-to-face discussion about who will be in the Hall of Fame. Basketball, if it's voting, it's not public, and hockey's the same way. Baseball is fairly unique in this, that the writers release their ballots and you see them.
Some of them do. Not all of them do.
Tracker.
Yeah,
that's
not
always
all of them
such a
do.
Cool thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's baseball is the sport you can argue the most about, right? Because it's mostly offensive. You don't get in strictly on your glove, I would imagine, right?
It's very rare to get it on your glove. I mean, Ozzie Smith is basically one of the few glove players to get it in modern times.
Right. Sure. But he also was a contributor with the bat late, especially later on in his career.
Yes, later in his career,
low
he became
twos
a pretty
to the
good
high
hitter.
twos. Yeah. Here's a great comment by THA Card Story. It is a talking sport because, for the amount of data that is gathered about this sport and the amount of data that we consume about the players and the history and all that stuff, you can't compare Ty Cobb to a modern player because it was a different game. And they were playing against a different segment of the population and all that stuff. So that's what's wonderful about baseball. Truth be told, right?
Speaking about different segment of the population, my condolences to you on your Phillies this year.
The Phillies.
I bet you if you had said, though, on March 1st, hey, we're going to go 6 games into the World Series, you would have said, one heck of a year.
I said that on October 1st and November 1st as well, Rich, because they were, I've separated, or I've distanced myself from being a passionate baseball fan. 2008 and 2009 were probably my last hurrahs, but obviously I'm a Phillies fan for life, and they weren't really expected to do much anyway in the playoffs. So that's what's fun about baseball as well. It's a tournament, right?
Speaking of baseball, Bo had given us the heads up. Ethan Roberts, by the way, is in the 2022 update set. And that is the player Bo was referring to.
Gotcha.
So Ethan, if you want to call in, you're welcome to call in.
There he is. There's Ethan Roberts. Pops right in there. Maybe Ethan can educate me on the modern game because I certainly need help with um, exit velocity and spin rate and
John, can I tell you something? All that's been going on for years. We just never knew it as data
I
driven.
know.
I tell the story. I
I know.
saw my good friend Paul Rogers, SMU law dean, Columbia law man. Actually, unlike me, did something with his life coming out of Columbia. Wrote books on his growing up. His team is the 50s 1950s Philadelphia
The Whiz
Phillies,
Kids.
the Whiz Kids. And there's a line in his book where Jim Constanti in that year of 1950 goes into a little mini slump. And one of the members on his bowling team was the local undertaker. And the undertaker watched him bowl or would watch him pitch and say, "You're not spinning the ball enough." They knew about spinning baseball 75 years ago, if not more.
Sure.
They never called
Absolutely.
it that. They didn't call spin rate. They just knew what it was.
They also knew how to hit against the shift back
We
then.
used to call the not exit velocity, but we used to call it an uppercut swing.
Right.
You
Or
know,
Richie Ashburn would tell you, and I heard this directly from his son. Richie Ashburn would tell you, give the ball a haircut, hit the top of the ball. That's
Yeah.
how Richie Ashburn used to hit. But you know,
Richie Ashburn hit 306 for the 62 Mets and promptly retired at the end of the season.
would you stick around for another year with the Mets back
Well,
then?
he had a ready-made job waiting for him for the Phillies as the announcer. So
The best color commentator in my lifetime.
I met him at a couple shows. He was hilarious.
Yeah, like I said, his son and my son were his grandson and my son were in the same league, so I would coach against his dad. So we have a special guest here coming on here. And Ethan Roberts, how are you?
What's up, fellas?
Boy, where are you, man?
I hear you collect your own cards.
I'm at my house in Birdstown, Tennessee.
Ah, Tennessee, huh? Very good. What's that shirt you got on there? You're not LSU, are you?
Tennessee Tech.
Tennessee Tech. Okay, is that where you went to school? Or is that your?
Yep.
Very good. Tennessee Technological University. Did you learn anything there, or were you just throwing the ball?
I was just throwing the ball.
Nice. What conference was that in?
Ohio Valley.
Ohio Valley.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
SEMO, Jacksonville State, Belmont, teams like that.
Belmont. Okay. They're a big basketball school, aren't they, Belmont?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Yeah.
What does that tattoo on your arm symbolize?
I have quite a few, actually.
That's some good stuff there,
cool.
man.
This one is for Tennessee Tech. The cow skull on the inside of my farm is for my grandfather. I have HDMH on my elbow for Stroman's brand. The flowers are for my great grandmother.
Huh.
A lot of different ones on there.
Was that a conscientious decision on your part to get it on your left arm since you're a right-hand thrower, or did that not matter?
It's kind of like the thing that everybody does, unless you just, do your whole body. But
so you saying left-handed throwers have right sleeves?
They're left. So like we had Stephen Brault this year. He has like a hexagon, like hologram computer edited looking sleeve, and it's on his right.
All right, I have to look that one up, man. That's good stuff.
Stephen Brault, he's got a cool tattoo on his arm, that's for sure.
So Rich wants to ask you a couple questions, I guess, about your card.
Well, how did you get involved in collecting your own cards or collecting cards?
Well, so Topps reached out this year, and I was like, oh yeah, definitely, whatever. But once I saw what was coming out, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm running the rainbow. I gotta get them.
How close are you?
I have watched eBay as close as like a hawk, man. And
eBay, man.
I have recently just hit my first 1 of 1. Which was super cool. Super nice guy on eBay. Had it as a bid. I messaged him. He put it by it now. Let me buy it. But I have the number to 25 Memorial Day. I have pretty much every color. Gold,
Yeah,
gold,
the hot pink
gold.
Mother's Day.
Mother's Day, Father's Day. I haven't seen one surface yet. That's one
Gotcha.
that two of those that I'm searching for. I haven't found a clear acetate yet either.
Have you
So,
done the auto game yet? I haven't. I don't. I'm looking through your stuff here. I'm looking on Beckett OPG. Have you done an auto yet on card auto?
so I've signed 5,000 stickers
Oh
through
God,
teams.
how fun is that, man? What do
Oh,
you do to get jazzed about 5,000 stickers?
I love it. I knock them out. They send them in about 4 hours. But I grew
Four
up
hours.
name on a 2x4 in a shop somewhere because I love signing my name. So
I got you. And where are you doing? Where's that happening? Clubhouse? Is it happening in your off
signing
season?
stickers and stuff.
Yeah.
They just send them to the mail.
Okay. Nobody shows up to watch you, monitor you, right? Making sure you're doing it, not your.
Yeah, there's documents in there that you have to sign.
You got a posse? You have a posse like Entourage yet, or no? You on your
Oh
own?
no, man, I'm not that important.
Not yet, right?
I'm not that important. I got 2 kids. Older.
How old are the kids?
One will be 4 in February, and one just turned 1.
Your wife must be a saint keeping up
She's
with the
amazing.
2 kids and you having to travel so much. And I understand that's the life of a baseball player, but still.
Oh, she's amazing. I don't know how in the world she does it. She's flown with both of them a few times.
That's not easy, man.
Yeah.
Tell me about your first game for the Cubs. What was that like, man?
Cold day. We actually got in the 9th inning, which was super cool. Got to end the game.
Okay.
Got a couple ground outs. Didn't get a punch out. Got a couple ground outs and a fly out. Actually, I got a double play, so it was
Oh, really?
a double play to end the game. Yeah.
So you just didn't decide to walk away from the baseball after that? After
Yeah, I know. Hey,
throwing it
I'm telling you,
around?
man, it's a high that I would fully recommend somebody trying to feel, man.
Yeah, good luck, dude. I played trombone in high school. I'm not going to be experiencing that.
It's crazy, man.
And
Absolutely.
anybody come out to see you for that?
Craziest thing about that series, man. One of my favorite players growing up was Andrew McCutcheon.
Right. Yeah, Uncle
And
Larry.
we cleared benches with him game 1. He was the guy that got hit by Keegan.
Oh my God. What you do? What do you do on that, man? Tell me about, especially as a rook, right? What do?
Yeah.
You just follow the leader, or what happens?
When benches clear, you're kind of obligated to bench clear. You have to get up. But in
Right.
a situation like Keegs, it's hard as a rookie. You know, you got some shady stuff going on. You get whispered something, or you have a feeling that you should, or whatever.
Right.
Kind of bring the game back into a level playing field. It's hard. I asked him. He was like, "Dude, I was shaking." So it's hard. Yeah, on being on his side of the ball, it's kind of hard. But when you clear, you kind of all right. Get your butt out of the seat, jog out there,
Yeah.
see what's up.
Were you in the dugout or were you out in the pen?
I was in the pen, so
Oh, come on, man. We've seen those guys jog out of the pen. By the time they get there, it's all over. Do you take your time or are you like rushing into the fire?
It depends on what's going on.
You mentioned that, you're collecting, I know, your own cards. You mentioned McCutcheon. Did you get a copy of that really cool card he had last year where it like showed his chest and the shirt was open?
I do have that, yes. I do.
Isn't that like the coolest card of last year?
Yes, absolutely. Super cool. Absolutely. And
Did you get him to sign it, Ethan, or no?
I wish.
Yeah.
Start finding some people pregame like AJ Dillon.
Yeah. Yeah.
I collect. I'm trying to get my collection up on Spencer Strider. I'm trying to get my collection up on Marcus Stroman. David Robertson. David Robertson was awesome to play with. So I'm trying to get. I've got I bought a number to 10 auto of him the other day. So.
So you were up. What were you up early this year? Is that what happened?
Yeah. Broke spring training with the roster. I got into 9 games and then shoulder and TJ.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Wow. So what's it looking like for February?
Recovery stuff's going good. Rehab time on the TJ with the doctor I went to is 14 months. So my first throw will be on January the 9th.
Okay.
6 months of throwing after that.
6 months of throwing, and then maybe like low A stuff, I guess, in Florida or something when you come back.
Yeah. Well, I would throw some fall league stuff.
Okay.
Not fall league. It'd be the AFL or AZL, not AFL.
Okay.
I would throw in some of those games, and then I would probably throw, depending on what they see me doing, I would probably throw in some rehab games in Iowa after that.
So let me ask you a question about
Yeah.
that. The a lot of people, and I don't know whether any of your colleagues in this day and age have done it, but a lot of people are getting like preemptive Tommy John surgery. Do you know anybody that's done that, or is that like more of a younger than you thing right now?
I've seen parents trying to get it for their kids is about kind of the
Right.
thing that I've seen, and I think that's a little crazy in my
It
opinion.
is crazy, huh?
Uh,
But you
but
don't know anybody. There's nobody floating around in pro ball right now that you know of that's done that, huh?
no, for sure. If you injure it, then you get it reconstructed. But if not, you kind
Right.
of let it ride. Mine was a full reconstruction with an internal brace, which was double.
Wow. Where did they take the ligament from now?
The wrist, so it's this little scar right here. It's your
Wait a minute here. They take it
palmaris
from
long.
the same arm?
Yep.
That has it always been that way? That's crazy,
Yeah,
man.
it's a ligament that's not used for anything important.
But they wouldn't take it out of your left though, right? That would make more
Comes
sense. But
out of your leg too.
oh, okay. Wow,
Um,
that's nuts.
the one that they take out of your wrist is called your palmaris longus.
Okay.
So that's what I got taken out of my right side.
So you would PT every day, or is it
Uh,
5 days a week, or what's
Times
going on?
with a therapist, and then of course I do my stuff every other day after that. So
So who do you like? Listen, I have a boss, dude. I turn my expense reports in every month. Who do
right.
you? What's your routine? Who do you talk to? Who keeps track of you? Is it
Uh,
the
since since I'm in rehab, there are rehab coaches and rehab uh, trainers
okay?
I report to.
And
Um,
they're out of Chicago, I guess, right?
a lot of them are in Arizona.
Okay.
A lot of them are in Arizona.
And are you in Tennessee or in Arizona or Chicago or somewhere else?
I have been so I injured well, not really injured, but I had some problems with my shoulder in Chicago. Saw the dog in Chicago. Went to Arizona. Saw the guys who I'm keeping up with now, or who are keeping up with me now. 3 trainers and a training coordinating pitcher coach. So I was there for a little while, and then I went to Iowa, tore my UCL and my rehab assignment. Went back to Arizona
Oh, yeah.
with the same trainers, same coach, and that's kind of who I keep up with now. So
I've got a burning question. I've
yeah.
been waiting to ask you this for 5 minutes here. You have, as a professional and a college player, exactly one at bat.
I do.
Were you kind of like this year? I mean, you don't have to worry about that now forever. But was that something you thought about as a minor leaguer? Like, oh crap, I'm gonna have to swing a bat in the majors someday.
I would have loved to.
Yeah,
Oh yeah. Did you see? Speaking of that, kind of going off me for just a second, but
absolutely, man.
did you see David Robertson's at bat we got him this year?
No,
Oh my
I'll have to
god,
check that out.
bat in like 16 major league seasons.
Oh, really?
Yes, and we've got him in at bat this
Tell
year.
me he swung, right? He just didn't
Struck
sit there
out
and
he struck out against the position player.
did he even get a. Oh, really?
Yeah.
What was the score of that game? Obviously, it was a
Uh,
blowout, right?
Nothing, 11-0 or
Oh
something.
man, that's
He got
awesome.
it was hilarious. Oh my gosh.
Whose bat did he use? He had to
Oh,
use.
I don't even know whose bat. He probably just grabbed one.
What do you do in that instance? You grab the smallest bat, you think, if
Yeah,
you had
that's
to?
what we're trying to do because a lot of them are like 35-inch bats.
And you guys don't even BP though, right?
No,
Oh
bunting
my
practice, but we don't even do that now.
god. Maybe in the spring a little bit, right?
Yeah, a little bit in the spring.
That's crazy, man.
So,
So
but
what?
it was awesome. But mine was in AAA. I was in Indianapolis in AAA.
And what's the story behind that? For
I,
one,
I had no idea.
you,
I pitched the 7th inning in Indy, and I thought I was coming out of the game because the pitcher spot was coming up, and I'm sitting there with my glasses and hat off, and
and you got no batting gloves, right?
yeah, our pitching coach turns around. He's like, "Robert, you're up," and like, I'm not on deck. Like they're waiting on me to get in the box, and I'm sitting, and I'm like, "Oh crap, okay." Grab my helmet, put it on, just grab a bat. Didn't know what size it was, didn't know whose it was. Ended up being Tyler Ladendorf's bat. That's like a 34 and a half.
All right.
And he's like, "Hey, you need your glasses, don't you?" And I was like, "Oh well, yeah." He hands me my glasses, and Peavy stops me, and our skip Peeve stopped me, and he goes, "If third baseman's back, bunt. I know there's 2 outs, but if he's back, bunt and run like hell." I said, "All right."
Right.
And I look back. I got the box, and I look back. Third baseman's playing on like the back cut of third.
Right.
And you know what? Screw this. I'm swinging this damn
Swing
thing.
this swing away. You ignored the signs, man. You blew the
So
signs off.
I got a 94-mile-an-hour sinker inside of my hands, and I hit it. Probably almost shattered this guy's bat.
Oh
And
man.
made a little line drive to second base out.
Oh, well, there you go. That's
So I
not bad, man.
saw,
Yeah.
but didn't go very far.
So what do you do if you're a pitcher, like, and facing another pitcher, and you're like, what? You mean you're just throwing smoke, or you're gonna mess with the guy? What's your plan? You know,
Well,
like,
when I face pitchers in AAA, I usually try to stick with the fastball. But if they start fouling off my fastball, like I'm not giving up a hit to no.
yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
giving up a hit to no pitcher.
You don't want to hit him on the rear end or anything. Just don't want to drill him. You don't want to hit him in the rear end, drill him.
Yeah, no, I don't want to hit him.
All right, and if going back to the brawls, man, if you're running, I think that if you're running out from the bullpen, you just meet the guys in center field, the other team. There's no need to make your way all the way to the infield, man. So next time that happens, think about that. Head right for the other guys.
That's right.
Yeah. Any other questions, Rich? This is
No, I'm
amazing
good.
that Ethan called.
He is our first professional athlete in 197 episodes here on Hobby Hotline. So thank you so much, Mr. Roberts.
Ethan, who other than Uncle Larry, who's your favorite player? I mean, did you have somebody going further back, or was Uncle Larry always on the?
I followed Stroman since he was at Duke.
Okay.
I followed him since he was at Duke, which that's another guy that I got to play with. Fortunately,
Right.
Cool. But yeah, I followed him a ton, and then all my others would be just I followed the Braves since I was so close.
Braves. Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean,
I heard you mention Mr. The Braves just keep coming up with these young guys. It's pretty amazing.
They've been atop of the system. If you think about it, they've been atop of the minor league system for like the last 8 years, and now it's all figuring out, coming to fruition in the big leagues. And now they've signed most of these guys to like 6 and 8 year deals.
Right.
So it's just they've got the same team for at least the next 6 years right now. It's insane.
Right.
That's pretty impressive in today's baseball world.
It is,
Yeah.
because a lot of guys hunt for the money and hunt for 1 year deals, and they've convinced these guys that they need to sign 6 and 8 year deals, and it's super cool.
Yeah.
And I like it that way. I don't like the 1 year hunting for money deals. I guess that's the way to maximize your worth, but not super important. I would want to win a World Series before I made $43 million. You know what I mean?
See, way back in the day, you talk about these 1 year deals. Way back in the day, before even Mr. Keating was born,
Whoa.
Charlie O'Finley used to, and who got ostracized by baseball, and he was an owner, said, just make them all free agents every year. And his point was that some people would chase the money, but then you'd actually depress salaries because everybody was available.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. That's what I can't remember who was the guy that came out and said it, whether it was Scherzer, whether it was Correa. I don't remember who it was, but one of the higher up guys, that's getting all this money, came out and said, if you want to maximize your worth, sign 1 year deals.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's an incentive thing,
So,
right? Yeah.
Yeah. If you end up with generational wealth that way anyway. If you're smart with your money, and I hope if that situation comes, you're smart with your money and you stock away enough for those 2 kids where they'll have to work, but at least their college education gets taken care of.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's the goal for sure.
I'd say stay away from chasing the rainbow. But whatever, dude. I'm an old school collector. That's why. Just be careful.
Man,
I'm an old school collector too, but I will tell you, buy what you like, and if you like buying your own cards, please chase your own rainbow.
Sure, man.
Absolutely. I know that I'm not going to be able to get all my cards, but I'm at least going to get my rookies.
Yeah.
So this is the lowest number of one I've got right now. I got the Memorial Day. So
which one is that? I mean, what number?
Camo Memorial Day to number 25. It's number 22 or 25.
22. Oh, that's nice, man.
I would have liked to got the 21 to 25.
I was going to say you're 21, right?
Yeah.
Is it hard getting that number? Did you pick it, or was that what they just threw at you when you walked in?
I picked it.
That was Roger Clemens' number, right? For a while, I think.
For a while, yeah. Well, I told my dad way back when that I would get his high school number if I ever made it to the big leagues. So that was his high school number. Right. So, and then I go in there and the guy's like, that's doing the numbers is like, you realize that's Sosa's, right?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. And he goes, well, there's a curse to it. I hope you know that. And I was like, oh, no. I guess I'll be the one to break the curse. So I got to keep this promise to my dad.
That's cool though, man. How many
So,
times you and your dad throw the ball at each other, right? And then
oh, yeah, too
you're
much.
wearing them on the
I hit
back.
his shins a few times, you know?
Yeah. Do you guys have your names on the back of those Cubs home jerseys or no?
Yes.
Okay, so that's pretty. What was it like when you handed that to your dad for the first
Oh,
time?
man. I took him out on the field after the first game because he came for opening week and dude just balled like a baby, man.
That's great. What's the first game you attended as a fan, a pro game as a fan? Did he take you down to
I
Atlanta or?
watched. Let's see. I would say my first one. My church group went to a Braves game when Jeff Francoeur was playing right field. So that was
All right, Jeff Francoeur, huh?
Yeah.
Frank Kerr's another local Braves person.
Yeah. Boy, they started since the late '80s. They've been spitting out players, man.
Oh yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. Well, that's
So who's
Strider,
the
man. Strider's in my agency, man. He's a beast.
is he?
Yeah, he's a beast.
Who's the toughest guy you've faced so far?
That's a toughie because I got to face the Rockies, the Brewers, and the Braves, and who else did I face? That may have been the only three that I got to face. But I'll tell you what, Braves were stacked. I had to face Crosby twice. I had to face Acuna. I had to face Austin Riley. I had to face Darno. Those guys were really good. And then, of course, Brewers, you've got Hunter Renfroe, who's a freaking hard at bat every time.
Right.
He's really, really good. I'd say my toughest at bat was either Dan's because it was a 3-2 count strikeout both times. But toughest at bat, he doesn't swing and miss much. I mean, he tries to get on the ball all the time. Either him or Renfroe or somebody like that that just won't go away. You know what I
mean? Right. Yeah. So Bo Thompson may be still listening, but what's your favorite ballpark in the National League, or I guess in the big leagues?
Yeah, that's super tough. You can't get a better environment than Wrigley.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, man. We went on the road to Atlanta at this new stadium, and I had been there, but the experience as a visiting relief pitcher is freaky because they shut the lights out on you when you run out.
Oh, right. That's the new thing, right?
Play the music, and everybody has their phones out with the chop. Like, it's freaky as a relief pitcher going out there. But but other than that,
how much different was it attending a game as a player as it is attending the game as a fan? What was the biggest difference?
Oh, well, front row seat to the show, obviously. And for me, as young as I am, like I've grown up watching the guys that I'm playing with and against. Yeah. So I'm brushing shoulders with them.
Yeah.
Versus watching them from a seat. Like, it's absolutely insane to me.
But you feel like you fit in, though?
Are you still sitting on the field in Wrigley in the bullpen?
We are under the outfield bleachers in left field.
Okay.
So there's glass in left field, and we're behind glass.
Huh.
So at least you're not going to get nailed by a baseball.
No, yeah, got that right. I can sit back and either watch it or watch it on TV.
When Rich and I were younger, another pitcher, while the pitcher was warming up out there, another pitcher would have to
cover
the catcher, right? I guess that's common in minor league parks, maybe.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a few on-field bullpens in big leagues, but I think maybe I don't know who it is now. They've a lot of them have been taken away. There's probably only like 2 or 3 left.
Well, listen, when you come to Philly, just tell them you know me if they're yelling at you from over the wall, because that's a tough place to warm up. Just tell them you know me, and they'll take it easy on you. I promise you.
I got you. Well, y'all got D-Rob for a rental there for a little bit.
Yeah,
he's great, man.
Yeah, he had a good postseason, I thought. But
he is. He's a great
mess.
He was telling us in the bullpen. He's like, man, I can't wait to get home. I bought some property in Rhode Island that's got granite all over it.
Really?
He said, I can't wait to dig it up. And it was just ironic that he was the one that played the longest.
Yeah, right.
So,
well, hey, you ever go to card shows?
I try. There was some in Arizona when I went around here where I'm at. There's like nothing.
Right.
I'm in the middle of nowhere.
I got you.
So
what's the nearest city? Is it Nashville, Knoxville, or Memphis? Where are you?
I'm probably where I'm at here. I'm closer to Nashville.
Okay.
My hometown of Sparta. I'm right in the middle of Nashville and Knoxville.
Okay, got you. That is nowhere. No offense, but yeah, that is.
Oh yeah, it's
great. Great if you have a boat, though, right?
There's Probably 1,200 people in city limits,
No,
maybe. Small little town. This is where my wife's side of the family's from. So,
gotcha.
but
Awesome, man. Well, if you got to get out there at card shows, do some signings, all that stuff, and
be awesome. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Never-
maybe go to Bo's
I'll
show.
be in. I'll be in Arizona all year next year rehabbing, so I'm
Okay.
gonna get to some card shows out there for sure. They got some great ones out there.
Yeah. Well, thanks, man. Thanks for
Oh,
taking
hey,
time out. I know
for
it's late
sure.
over there, and
And Bo knows I'll do anything for him, but I
he's the
appreciate that.
best, huh? That was
We
great, man.
appreciate you calling in. You are, as noted, the first professional athlete to ever call into
Yeah.
Hobby
You guys
Hotline,
are
so
awesome.
we appreciate you.
You guys are awesome, man.
Good luck, man, with the arm and the rehab and all that stuff, and congrats on making to the big show. That's awesome, man.
Do you have any parting words you want to say?
Hey, if you find my one-on-ones, hit me up. I'll give you what you need.
Yeah, and the 21s. Let's get him some 21s too.
Yeah, and some 21s. I'll get those
Yeah.
too. It'd be awesome. It'd be awesome. I got the Cayenne. I think that's how you
The
say it.
Cayenne. Okay, yeah.
I got
okay.
the Cayenne. There's 3 more of those, and a platinum and a clear acetate, and then the 21s if you find them.
Well, this old dinosaur is going to start looking for those for you.
Let's
It's going
go.
to be, give me something to do. That's what it's all about. We go down rabbit holes, and this will be one of them. So,
I love it.
yeah. Good luck to you, man. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate
man.
it.
Y'all have a good one.
Take care, man.
See ya.
Bye. Well, there you go, Rich. That
Hey,
doesn't happen every
our
day,
night is
right?
complete. I think that's better than watching any election coverage.
There's nobody better than Bo Thompson, that's for sure. So
Now,
thanks for
we
setting
miss
that
Bo.
up,
We
Bo.
hope he comes back to Hobby Hotline and joins you in the very short retirement from
Yeah,
Hobby
we'll see.
Hotline.
Bo's in rehab in Arizona right now, so we'll see
Right.
how that goes. And I think it's not the same kind of rehab Ethan's going through. So,
All right.
well,
Well, do you have any final parting words?
I think we're done. Thank you, everybody, for sticking with us. Rich, thank you. You and I have spoken a lot, but it's great that we can still yap about this hobby thing. So,
If I was Chris Harris, I'd say keep on rocking in the free world. So keep on rocking in the free world, and good night, everybody.
Be safe, everybody. Talk to you later. Bye.